He had everything most people dream about, yet peace had slowly disappeared from his life. Money came easily, power followed him everywhere, and doors opened before he even touched them. Still, each morning felt heavy. Every smile around him seemed rehearsed. Every handshake felt like it had a price. He often wondered if anyone around him truly cared about who he was. It's not what he owned. For years, his life had been protected by walls, guards, and distance. He lived in high towers and traveled in dark cars. Even simple things like buying food or walking on a street were impossible without attention. Over time, this lonely comfort began to feel like a prison. He wanted to see life without his name attached to it. He wanted to know how people treated a man with nothing. One quiet night, he made a decision that shocked even himself. He told no one except one trusted assistant. He chose plain clothes, cheap shoes, and a small bag. No cards, no signs of wealth, no protection. The mirror showed a stranger looking back at him, someone ordinary, someone invisible. For the first time in years, he felt a strange sense of freedom. He traveled to a small town far from the city, a place where nobody watched business news or cared about powerful families. The roads were rough, the houses simple, and life moved slower there. People worked hard from sunrise to sunset, not to get rich, but just to survive. As he stepped off the bus, no one noticed him. No stares, no respect, no fear. Just another man among many. The first few days were harder than he expected. His hands were not used to labor. His body ached after simple work. He took small jobs, carrying loads, cleaning shops, and helping where he could. Each coin he earned felt heavier than any money he had ever owned. He began to understand the value of effort, not profit. One afternoon, while resting near a small roadside stall, he noticed a young girl working nearby. She looked tired, yet she kept moving. She cleaned tables, washed dishes, and served customers without complaint. Her clothes were worn but clean. Her eyes showed exhaustion mixed with quiet strength. Even when customers spoke harshly, she answered politely. He watched her from a distance, not knowing why his attention stayed on her. Maybe it was the way she smiled despite her struggles. Or maybe it was the calm dignity she carried even in poverty. When their eyes met briefly, she gave a small nod, nothing more. No curiosity, no judgment. Just simple human acknowledgement. Later that day, fate placed them closer. He dropped a bag while helping unload supplies nearby. The girl noticed and rushed over to help, lifting part of the load without asking. Her hands were rough from work, yet gentle in movement. She did not ask his name or his story. She only said a few simple words and went back to her work. That small moment stayed with him longer than he expected. In his old world, people helped him because they wanted something. Here, help came without reason. He felt both grateful and confused. As days passed, he saw more of her. She worked from early morning until late evening. Sometimes, he noticed her skipping meals, pretending she was not hungry. Once, he overheard her speaking softly to someone on the phone, worrying about medicine and rent. Her voice never blamed anyone. It only carried concern. One evening, rain poured suddenly, soaking the streets. He took shelter near the stall where she worked. When she noticed him standing there, shivering slightly, she offered him a small cup of hot tea. She did not ask for payment. She simply said it would help him warm up. That kindness, small as it was, touched him deeply. They began exchanging a few words now and then. Simple conversations about work, weather, and daily life. She spoke honestly, without drama or complaint. He listened more than he spoke, afraid that even simple words might reveal too much. Yet with her, he felt no need to impress. At night, as he lay in his rented room, his thoughts returned to her. He wondered how someone with so little could give so much warmth. In contrast, his old life suddenly felt cold and empty. He realized that wealth had protected him from hardship. But it had also protected him from real connection. The town had its own rhythm. People knew each other, helped each other, and argued openly. Life was hard, but real. He began to enjoy waking up early, feeling tired from honest work and eating simple food. For the first time in years, sleep came easily, but danger was closer than he knew. His disappearance had not gone unnoticed. Powerful enemies from past business conflicts were searching quietly. Rumors moved faster than truth. Somewhere, someone believed he was vulnerable now. One late evening, after finishing a long day of work, he chose a shortcut through a quiet area to reach his room. The streetlights were dim, and the road was empty. He felt a strange unease but brushed it off. He had learned that life without fear was part of his test. Suddenly, shadows moved. Before he could react, figures stepped out, blocking his path. Their voices were low, threatening. He tried to step back, but there was nowhere to go. In that moment, fear struck him harder than ever before. No guards, no protection. Just his own fragile body. The attack came fast. He fell to the ground, pain exploding through him. The world blurred. Sounds became distant. As footsteps faded, darkness closed in. His last thought was not about money or power, but about the quiet girl with tired eyes and a kind heart. Fate, however, had not finished its plan, not far away. The girl was returning home after another exhausting day. Rainwater filled the streets, and her feet hurt with every step. She wanted nothing more than rest. Then she saw a shape on the ground. At first, fear froze her. The area was dangerous at night, but when she heard a weak sound, something inside her pushed her forward. She recognized him immediately. The quiet man who worked hard and spoke little. He was badly hurt, barely conscious. Her heart raced. She knew helping him could put her in danger. But leaving him there felt impossible. With effort beyond her strength, she dragged him toward a safer place, hiding him from view. She used what little she had to clean his wounds and keep him awake. Her hands shook, but her resolve did not, as she sat beside him in the darkness, protecting a man she barely knew. Neither of them understood how this moment would change their lives forever. The girl worked quickly but carefully, carrying the man to a small room she had rented above a shop. It was tiny, with only a bed, a chair, and a small table, but it was safe and private. She lowered him onto the bed, noticing the blood and bruises on his face. Her heart raced, but she focused on what needed to be done. She had no medical training, only what she had seen from caring for her sick mother and helping neighbors. She cleaned the cuts with water she boiled earlier and tied pieces of cloth to stop bleeding. Each movement was deliberate, calm, yet full of urgency. She whispered to him, urging him to stay awake, to fight the pain. He stirred slightly but could not speak. His life seemed fragile, like a candle flickering in the wind. Hours passed slowly. She fetched water, cleaned his wounds, and stayed by his side, talking quietly to keep him conscious. She did not ask questions. She did not demand answers. She only offered presence and care, believing that even in silence, someone's heart can feel the attention of another. She whispered stories about her day, the market, her mother, and little things that seemed trivial but filled the silence with warmth. The man slowly opened his eyes several times. He felt pain with every movement, yet he noticed the girl's tireless dedication. He could see the exhaustion on her face, the deep concern in her eyes, and the strength she carried despite her small frame. It was a kind of courage he had never seen before, not in boardrooms or at lavish parties. This was raw human courage, unpolished by wealth or expectation. He wanted to speak, to tell her who he was, but he realized it was not the time. For now, he allowed her to care for him as a stranger. That humility, being vulnerable in a world he was used to controlling, made him feel both uncomfortable and grateful. He had never known anyone who acted solely out of kindness without expecting anything in return. Night turned into early morning. The rain stopped, but the streets were still empty. She finally sat down beside the bed, her back pressed against the wall, and allowed herself a brief rest. Her mind raced with worry. He had been attacked for reasons she did not understand, but she knew it could happen again. She promised herself that she would protect him no matter the risk. By mid-morning, he began to regain some strength. He tried to sit up, wincing at the pain in his ribs. She held him steady, gently guiding him back onto the bed. He looked at her and finally found the words, weak but filled with sincerity. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice hoarse and shaky. She smiled faintly, almost embarrassed by the gratitude. It was not something she expected from anyone, much less a stranger. The day passed slowly, filled with small, intimate moments. She fetched food from a nearby stall, simple bread and soup. She encouraged him to eat, insisting that he needed strength. He did, but the act of her preparing it, insisting on his care, affected him more than the food itself. He realized that the world he had left behind, filled with wealth and authority, had never provided him this simple human warmth. As he grew stronger, he began to notice more about her life. Her room was simple, her belongings few. She worked tirelessly, yet she never complained. She laughed softly at small jokes, always with a gentle spirit. He saw how she cared for everyone around her, even when her own life was hard. There was honesty in her smile, resilience in her eyes, warmth in her heart. Over the next few days, he depended on her completely. He could not leave the room, could not move without assistance, and she never complained. She tended to him with care, quietly observing him, asking only basic questions. Their conversations were small, almost ordinary, yet in those small moments, trust began to form. He felt human in her presence, not a billionaire or a man of power, just a person who needed help. One afternoon while he rested, she went outside briefly. She returned with news of the town. A small festival was happening. Neighbors helping each other, people smiling despite hardships. She described everything with such vivid detail that he could almost see it through her words. He realized how little he had experienced life in its raw simplicity. All his wealth could not have taught him. What these stories revealed, the attack that had brought him to her, was not far from his mind. He wondered about the people who wanted him hurt, about the dangers still lurking. Yet with her care, he felt hope. Even if he had nothing, even if the world was against him, he could survive because of human kindness. That realization was new, almost overwhelming. He began to observe her more closely, noticing the little sacrifices she made, giving him her portion of food, standing long hours to fetch water, and resting less than she should. She rarely mentioned her own hardships, always prioritizing others. He felt admiration, respect, and a strange warmth that he had never felt for anyone before. His heart, long shielded by wealth and authority, felt something fragile yet real. By the 5th day, he was able to sit up fully. She helped him dress and move around the room. He noticed the bruises fading, but his mind was more focused on her than on his injuries. He wanted to understand her life, her struggles, and the kindness that flowed naturally from her. He began asking questions about her family, her dreams, her days. She answered honestly, never hiding her hardships, never expecting pity. He realized how stark the difference was between his world and hers. In his life, people acted out of obligation, duty, or desire for reward. Here, love and care existed simply because it was human. That realization stayed with him, filling him with both awe and humility. The girl noticed his gaze, the thoughtful silence, and the slight change in his demeanor. She felt a mixture of curiosity and caution. There was something different about this man. Not his looks, not his words, but something deeper. He seemed aware, attentive, and unusually quiet. She did not know his past, but she felt a quiet trust developing. The days turned into a week. Each day he grew stronger, and their bond deepened. They shared meals, stories, and quiet moments of reflection. He listened to her talk about dreams she had put aside, responsibilities she could not escape, and moments of joy she found despite challenges. In her presence, he found himself reflecting on his own choices, on the loneliness and emptiness that money and power had not filled. He started to help her in small ways. Though he could not do much, carrying water, cleaning small areas, preparing meals, every action was met with her quiet approval. No words of thanks, just acknowledgement. He began to understand the value of effort, of contribution, and of being part of someone else's life without expecting anything in return. Then one evening, while they were sitting quietly, he noticed a distant figure watching from the street below. His instincts screamed danger. He tried to warn her, but she did not understand. That night, as they slept, he could not shake the feeling that the world outside was not safe. Yet, he also realized that as long as she was by his side, he felt a strength he had never known. Over the next days, he became more cautious, aware that his past was catching up with him. Yet, despite fear, he felt an unusual calm. With her care, he was alive in a way he had never been. He understood the fragility of life, the importance of trust, and the beauty of unselfish human kindness. By the end of the second week, he could walk short distances. She accompanied him outside, guiding him through the narrow streets. People greeted her warmly, unaware of the stranger who walked with her. They offered smiles, small conversations, and help. He noticed the simplicity and honesty of life here, so different from the artificial interactions he had grown accustomed to. It was eye-opening. During one of these walks, she helped him sit by a small fountain. The sunlight reflected off the water, and for the first time, he allowed himself to relax. He felt a connection not only to her, but to the life around him. It was vibrant, raw, and real. He realized that survival was not just about avoiding danger, but about embracing life fully, even in its simplest forms. The girl, unaware of the storm in his world, continued her life as usual, sharing moments of laughter and quiet reflection. Yet she noticed subtle changes in him, his attentiveness, the way he seemed to value her words more than anything else, and a gentle respect that went beyond ordinary courtesy. He knew that the time would come when secrets would be revealed, when truths could no longer be hidden. But for now, he cherished these days. They were fragile, ordinary, and precious. And in the heart of the girl who had saved him, he found a warmth that money and power could never buy. She had not just saved his life, she had opened his eyes to the meaning of it. The days that followed were quiet, but filled with small moments that felt large to both of them. The man was slowly regaining his strength. Every morning, the girl would prepare a small breakfast, sometimes bread with a little butter, sometimes just warm water. She insisted he eat, even if he protested, and he found himself following her instructions with a strange sense of trust. He had always commanded people, but here he listened. He began to move around more, helping in small ways, carrying water, cleaning dishes, and tidying the small room. Each action reminded him how simple work could feel rewarding when done with care. The girl noticed, and she smiled at his efforts, though she never said it aloud. There was an unspoken bond growing between them, quiet understanding that words could not capture. One afternoon, they decided to walk a short distance to the market. He walked carefully, supported by her small hand on his arm. The streets were crowded with people going about their daily lives. Children played near the fountain, merchants called out to sell fruits and vegetables, and women carried heavy loads on their heads. The sounds, the smells, the chaos, it was all overwhelming to him at first. Yet it felt real. For the first time in years, he was part of a world that existed beyond money and contracts. The girl guided him through the market, introducing him to people she knew. She was respected, even if poor, because she worked hard and treated everyone kindly. She helped neighbors carry small bundles, offered smiles, and listened to their troubles. He watched her and was struck by her resilience. Despite the hardships, she moved through the world with dignity and grace. Later, he found a small bench under a tree and sat in silence for a moment. He observed her carefully, noticing details he had never seen before: the faint scars on her hands, the tired lines on her face, the sparkle in her eyes when she laughed quietly at some passing joke. He realized he had never looked at someone with such attention, never noticed the little things that made a person real and human. She too noticed changes in him. He seemed more reflective, less impatient. He smiled more naturally, laughed more freely. His eyes no longer carried the same hardened look that power and wealth had left there. She felt a sense of curiosity about him, wondering why he was different from other men who passed through the town. There was something gentle yet cautious, kind yet mysterious. As the sun began to set, they returned to their small room. He rested while she cooked a simple meal. The smell of boiling water and cooking vegetables filled the tiny space. He watched her work, amazed at how someone with so little could manage so much. Her movements were efficient, precise, and filled with care. Every action, from stirring the pot to wiping the counter, seemed to have purpose and meaning. After dinner, they sat together, the quiet of the evening surrounding them. He began to talk, cautiously at first, about his life before he came to this town. He did not reveal his true identity, but he spoke of loneliness, of endless responsibilities, of a world where everyone expected something from him. She listened without judgment, only nodding or asking gentle questions. Her eyes conveyed understanding, and her attention made him feel heard in a way he never had before. The girl shared her own stories too, about her family, the struggles she faced daily, and the small joys that made life bearable. She spoke of her mother's illness, the unpaid rent, the hunger she often ignored to feed her siblings. Yet she never spoke with bitterness, only acceptance. She laughed at little things, cried at quiet moments, and dreamed of days when life might be easier. Listening to her, he realized that true strength often came from struggle. From enduring hardships with a sense of hope, as nights passed, they developed a rhythm. He would wake early, she would prepare breakfast. They would spend the day either working or exploring the town in small ways. The man began to appreciate the simplicity of life, the way sunlight warmed the streets in the morning, the sound of children playing, the laughter of neighbors sharing stories. He had never experienced such ordinary moments, yet they filled him with a sense of peace he had never known. One evening, as they sat near the small fountain, a child approached them, carrying a broken toy. The girl helped the child fix it, her hands gentle and patient. He watched her, marveling at her generosity. She gave without expecting anything, simply because it was the right thing to do. In that moment, he felt a deep admiration and an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. It was a feeling he could not name but knew was important. Days turned into weeks. The bond between them grew stronger, rooted in care, trust, and shared experiences. They did not speak of love, not yet, but their connection was undeniable. Small gestures, a hand offered for support, a smile shared over a simple meal. A word of encouragement became the threads that wove their lives together. He realized that he had found something he had never known in his world of wealth. Genuine human connection. Yet, beneath the growing warmth, a shadow loomed. He knew that he could not stay hidden forever. His past, filled with enemies and dangerous dealings, would eventually catch up to him. He thought about the attack that had brought him here and understood that the danger was not gone. The girl, unaware of the threat, continued her life with quiet courage. Trusting in the small world she had built, one rainy afternoon, they were caught in a sudden downpour. They sought shelter under a small awning, the rain soaking the streets around them. She laughed softly, brushing rain from her hair, and he felt a rare sense of joy. They ran through puddles, helping each other avoid slipping, and for a moment the world felt safe and light. He realized that moments like this, simple and fleeting, were more precious than any possession he had ever owned. The nights brought reflection. He lay awake, thinking about the girl, about the town, about life stripped of wealth and status. He recognized that he had been living in a cage of his own making, protected by walls, money, and fear. Here, with her care, he felt alive, vulnerable yet free. He wondered how someone so ordinary could teach him lessons that riches never had, as he recovered further. He began to participate more actively in the town's daily life. He helped carry water for neighbors, assisted in small shops, and even offered a helping hand to children struggling with heavy loads. Each act, however small, connected him further to the world he had long ignored. He realized that happiness was not in wealth or recognition, but in the simple act of caring, of being present. The girl, watching him adapt, felt a growing admiration and curiosity. She noticed the patience he now exhibited, the way he learned from others, and the genuine respect he showed to everyone. There was a quiet strength in him, one that did not come from authority or money, but from a willingness to change and to understand. She could not explain it, but she trusted him. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, they sat on the rooftop of her small room. The town was quiet, the streets glistening from the recent rain. They talked about dreams, hopes, and the things they wished they could change. He shared his desire to understand life, to live differently, and to find meaning beyond wealth. She spoke of her longing for a stable life, free from worry, where she could care for her family without fear. They fell into a comfortable silence, the kind that only forms between people who truly see each other. In that silence, he felt a deep gratitude for her presence, for her courage, and for the warmth she brought into his life. He realized that she had not only saved his life physically, but had also awakened a part of him that had long been dormant, the capacity to care, to trust, and to connect deeply with another human being. The days continued, each one reinforcing the bond between them. They shared work, meals, and quiet moments, each act deepening the understanding and trust that had begun when she first saved him. He began to anticipate her needs, to look out for her in small ways, and to find joy in her laughter. She, in turn, began to see him not just as a stranger or someone she had helped, but as a companion, a presence she could rely on. Yet, as much as their connection grew, the shadow of his past remained. He knew that the time would come when he would have to face it, when the truth could no longer be hidden. But for now, in these fragile, ordinary days, he found solace, healing, and the beginnings of a love that neither of them fully understood but both felt deeply. And in her, he discovered something that no amount of wealth or power could ever provide, a heart that was open, kind, and unwavering. As the weeks passed, their bond deepened, but the man could feel the tension of the world he had left behind, slowly creeping closer. The quiet town, the simple life, and the girl's warmth had given him peace, but he knew it could not last forever. His enemies were still searching, and eventually someone would connect the dots. One afternoon, while walking through the town square with the girl, he noticed a stranger watching them from a distance. The man instinctively felt danger, a cold shiver running down his spine. The girl noticed his tension and asked if he was all right, but he brushed it off with a small smile, not wanting to worry her. He began thinking about ways to protect her without revealing too much. That evening, as they returned to their small room, he decided it was time to share some of his truth, though carefully. He spoke of the dangers he had faced before coming to this town and how he had been attacked weeks ago. He did not reveal his full identity, only enough to explain why he needed to be careful. She listened intently, her eyes widening in concern. She had already risked her safety to help him, and now understanding the danger made her heart ache. Despite the fear, they continued their daily routine. She continued to care for him, and he continued to help her in small ways. Their bond grew stronger, built on trust and shared experiences. They laughed together, shared meals, and talked long into the night. But the shadow of the outside world was never far. He knew that one day, the truth would have to come out. And that day was approaching faster than he had hoped. One morning a messenger arrived in the town. The man recognized the insignia on the envelope immediately. It was a warning, a reminder that his past was still very much alive. He felt a surge of anxiety, knowing that the peaceful days were numbered. He decided he could not leave the girl in danger and began making plans to keep her safe, even if it meant revealing his secret sooner than he wanted that evening. He sat with her under the small awning outside her room. The sun was setting, casting golden light over the town. He finally told her the truth, revealing that he was not just a traveler or a laborer, but a man who had lived a life of wealth and power. Her eyes widened in shock, and for a moment she said nothing. The revelation was overwhelming. She felt a mix of confusion, betrayal, and fear. All the moments they had shared, the trust they had built, it suddenly felt uncertain. She stepped back, needing space to process. He reached out, trying to explain that his feelings for her were real, not influenced by his wealth or status. He spoke of the respect and admiration he had developed for her courage and kindness, how she had saved his life and changed his perspective. He begged her to believe that the bond they had formed was genuine. It's not a trick or experiment. Days passed with tension hanging between them. She avoided him, threw herself into her work, and kept conversations short. He gave her space, but remained close, hoping she would come to understand his sincerity. He reflected on his actions, realizing that trust once broken takes time to rebuild. He could not rush her healing or expect forgiveness. He could only show through his actions that his words were true. Meanwhile, it began taking measures to protect her and the town. He moved quietly, gathering information about the people searching for him and planning ways to divert them without involving the girl. He realized that hiding was no longer enough. He needed a strategy that would keep her safe while also confronting the threats. One night, as the rain poured heavily, he noticed figures approaching from the outskirts of town. His heart raced, and he knew that the danger had arrived. He hurried to ensure the girl was safe, guiding her to a secure place within her home. She trusted him, though still wary of his past revelation. He kept his calm, organizing simple defenses and preparing to face whatever came. The attackers arrived. But the town's simple structure worked in their favor. Narrow streets, hidden alleys, and the vigilance of locals made it difficult for outsiders to move freely. He led the girl through secret paths he had discovered during their walks, ensuring she remained hidden. The tension was palpable, every sound amplified by fear, every shadow a potential threat. Through this ordeal, the girl's bravery became evident. Despite fear, she followed his instructions calmly, helping to barricade doors and carry essential supplies. She proved that courage is not measured by wealth or size, but by the willingness to act in the face of danger. He watched her with awe and respect, feeling that their bond was deepening even under the strain of fear. When the threat finally passed, leaving only distant echoes of danger, they returned to the small room. Both were exhausted, soaked from the rain, and emotionally drained. He looked at her and realized that she had faced what many in his world could not. He understood that she was not just a caretaker or companion. She was a force of strength and courage that had transformed him as well. In the days that followed, they began to rebuild the trust that had been shaken by his revelation. He made a conscious effort to demonstrate his sincerity through actions, not words. He helped with chores, participated in the town's daily routines, and continued to treat her with respect and admiration. Slowly, she began to soften, recognizing that his feelings were genuine, and that his past did not diminish. The bond they had formed, they started sharing moments of laughter and quiet reflection again. Simple things like walking through the market, preparing meals, or sitting by the fountain regained their significance. The shared fear and the experience of facing danger had strengthened their connection, creating a deeper understanding between them. They had learned that trust and love are not built in a day, but forged through shared experiences, challenges, and care. Yet he knew the ultimate test was yet to come. His enemies were still out there, and eventually, the truth of his identity could draw them to the town once more. He understood that to protect the girl, he might have to make sacrifices, confront his past openly, and ensure that she remained safe no matter the cost. As he sat with her one evening, watching the stars appear in the clear night sky, he reflected on how much his life had changed. He had come seeking simple human connection, and he had found it in someone who had nothing yet gave everything. The girl had not only saved his life, but had also shown him the true meaning of courage, kindness, and love. He knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, their bond had been tested and had survived. Laying the foundation for something lasting and real, the quiet of the night settled over them. A temporary reprieve before the world's next challenges arrived. In that silence, they sat together, two hearts connected not by wealth or status, but by trust, shared experiences, and the unspoken understanding that they had changed each other forever. And in that moment, the man realized that love, true and untainted, was more powerful than fear, danger, or any obstacle the world could place before them. The days following the dangerous encounter were quiet but tense. The man and the girl continued their routine, but an unspoken awareness lingered. He knew the threats from his past could return at any moment. He made plans to protect her, knowing that revealing his full identity might become inevitable. He wanted her to understand the truth and to see that his feelings were genuine, not dependent on wealth or status. One morning, He took her to a secluded area near a river outside the town. The sunlight glistened on the water, and the gentle sound of flowing water filled the air. He spoke to her with honesty, telling her about his life, his mistakes, and the burdens he had carried. He did not speak of riches as a means to impress, but as a reality of his life that had shaped him. He explained how meeting her had changed him, how her courage, kindness, and simplicity had shown him the meaning of true life. The girl listened silently, her eyes wide, taking in every word. She felt a mixture of emotions: surprise, disbelief, and gradually understanding. The man's words were sincere, and she saw the genuine respect and care in his eyes. For the first time, she truly understood the depth of his feelings and the risks he had taken to keep her safe. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, trust began to rebuild fully between them. The man continued to integrate himself into the town, helping people in small ways, always guided by the girl's knowledge of the community. He worked alongside her, carrying water, assisting with chores, and learning the routines of the town. The girl watched him, impressed by his willingness to be humble, to adapt, and to live honestly. She saw that his wealth and power had not changed his ability to care deeply, and this realization made her heart soften. The bond between them became undeniable. They laughed together, shared meals, and spent long evenings talking by the river. Their conversations ranged from daily life to dreams, hopes, and fears. The man spoke of wanting to make a difference in a meaningful way beyond money and status. The girl shared her wishes for her family, her hopes for a better life, and the small joys that kept her going despite hardship. Their connection grew deeper with each passing day, founded on respect, understanding, and shared experiences. One evening, as the sun set, the man decided it was time to act against the lingering threat from his past. He could no longer avoid the danger, and he wanted to protect the girl fully. He contacted a few trusted allies from his world, people who could discreetly handle the threat without drawing attention to the town. Together, they created a plan that would ensure the girl's safety and prevent harm to anyone in the community. The plan was risky, but it worked. Within a few days, the danger was neutralized. The man's enemies were dealt with quietly, without causing panic or fear in the town. For the first time since arriving, he felt a sense of relief. He had faced the threat, protected the girl, and ensured that their peaceful life could continue. The experience had strengthened their bond. As they realized they could face challenges together, relying on trust and courage, with the danger behind them, the man and the girl focused on their life together. He began to invest his time and resources quietly into the town, improving basic facilities, helping families, and creating opportunities for the community. He did not seek recognition. His goal was to give back in a meaningful way. The girl supported him, guiding him with her knowledge of the town and its people, ensuring that their efforts were effective and respectful. Their relationship deepened into love, gentle and genuine. They did not need grand gestures. Their love was shown in small, daily acts, sharing meals, walking through the streets, helping others, and simply being present for one another. The girl saw in him not the billionaire he had been, but the man he had become, a man capable of empathy, kindness, and true connection. One afternoon, they walked to the hill overlooking the town. The sky was clear, and the wind carried the scent of flowers from nearby fields. He took her hand and spoke softly, expressing his desire to build a life together based on mutual respect, love, and care. He promised to always protect her, to honor her courage, and to value her as the heart of his new life. She looked into his eyes, seeing truth, sincerity, and deep affection. She realized that love had grown between them, not because of wealth or status, but because of shared experiences, trust, and genuine care in the weeks that followed. They became a symbol of hope and inspiration in the town. People noticed their partnership, the way they supported each other and helped the community. The man's presence no longer carried fear or awe, but respect earned through humility and kindness. The girl's courage and heart had shaped him just as he had protected and supported her. Together, they were stronger, grounded in values that mattered most. Life settled into a peaceful rhythm. They shared simple pleasures, morning walks, helping neighbors, preparing meals together, quiet evenings by the river. Each day reinforced their connection, their love, and their understanding of what truly mattered in life. The man reflected often on how meeting the girl had transformed him, showing him the true value of human connection, courage, and compassion. Over time, he began to use his resources quietly to improve the lives of others. Inspired by the girl who had saved his life and taught him to see the world differently, their life together became a testament to the power of love and trust, of human kindness, and the strength found in supporting and uplifting one another. Years later, as they stood together watching the sunset over the town, they knew that their bond had endured challenges, danger, and doubt. They had chosen a life built on love, mutual respect, and shared values. The girl had not only saved his life, but had also transformed his understanding of the world, showing him that the greatest wealth comes from the heart. Their story became quietly known among the townspeople, a tale of courage, love, and transformation. The man who had once lived behind walls of money and power had found freedom and joy through simple human connection. The girl who had faced danger without fear had found a partner who truly respected, cherished, and loved her. Together they had discovered that life's greatest treasures are not measured in riches, but in trust, love, and the courage to be vulnerable with someone who truly sees you in the end. They walked through the streets of the town hand in hand, fully present in their shared life. Every smile, every act of kindness, every quiet moment together was a reminder of how far they had come. They had faced danger, fear, and uncertainty, yet their bond had only grown stronger. Love had found its way through hardship and risk, proving that genuine connection, courage, and compassion are the true foundations of life. And as the stars appeared in the night sky, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Hearts united and strengthened by the journey they had shared, even after life seemed to settle. The man and the girl knew that change was constant and that life's challenges could appear at any time. Yet, they embraced each day together, learning from one another and building a life grounded in trust and care. Each morning brought new energy, a chance to contribute to the town and to nurture the bond that had begun in crisis and strengthened through shared hardship. The man had grown accustomed to simplicity, finding joy in tasks he would have once considered beneath him, carrying water, tending small gardens, helping repair homes, and assisting children with their chores. These were actions that connected him to the community in ways money never could. The girl guided him patiently, sharing knowledge about the people, the town, and the delicate balance required to help without creating dependency. He listened and learned, appreciating her wisdom and perspective. They spent long afternoons helping neighbors, the man's presence offering subtle support, while the girl's familiarity ensured that their efforts were well received. Through this work, he observed the resilience of ordinary lives. Families survived illness, poverty, and loss with dignity, relying on one another for support. He marveled at how courage and determination existed independently of wealth or privilege. Lessons he carried silently in his heart. Evenings were their moments of reflection. Sitting by the river or on a small hill overlooking the town, they talked about dreams, fears, and aspirations. The man shared stories of his past, not to boast, but to show her what he had learned through mistakes and power. He spoke of loneliness, missed opportunities for connection, and the ways he had been blind to life's simple pleasures. The girl listened quietly, occasionally offering advice or gently challenging his perspective. Their conversations were honest, unguarded, full of mutual respect. During one of these evenings, the man realized how much he had changed. The girl had not only saved him physically, but had nurtured a transformation within him. Her compassion, courage, and unwavering sense of justice had shown him that true strength lies not in domination or wealth, but in empathy and action. Her simple acts of care, the way she ensured he had enough to eat, the hours she spent tending his wounds, the patience she showed as he relearned ordinary tasks, had left a permanent mark on him. Their bond deepened beyond friendship, into a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. Love emerged not as a dramatic declaration but as a quiet presence in daily acts, preparing meals together, walking through rain-soaked streets, or sharing laughter over small mishaps. Each gesture reinforced their connection, making it clear that love grows from care, trust, and shared experiences rather than grand gestures or superficial attraction. One day, they encountered a family struggling to repair their home after a storm. The man and the girl joined neighbors in helping rebuild walls, patch roofs, and carry heavy loads. The family was overwhelmed by their generosity, and the girl explained how even small contributions could make a significant difference when combined with community effort. The man watched her closely, admiring her ability to inspire cooperation, to organize action without authority, and to lead by example. Her influence extended quietly but powerfully, and he realized that true leadership was grounded in service. As they worked together, the man reflected on how far he had come. In his old world, he had wielded power to command and influence, but here, his actions were guided by empathy and understanding. He felt the satisfaction of work done for the sake of goodness itself, without expectation of reward or recognition. The girl's presence magnified this realization. As he observed her tireless commitment to helping others despite her own hardships, at night after a long day of work, they returned to their room, tired but fulfilled. The quiet comfort of being together without pretense or expectation was a luxury neither had experienced in their previous lives. They shared meals, recounted stories of the day, planned small ways to continue improving their town and the lives of its residents. Every discussion, no matter how mundane, strengthened their partnership and their mutual understanding. As months passed, the man began implementing subtle, thoughtful changes to benefit the town. He funded small projects anonymously repairing a bridge, improving water access, and providing medical supplies while always consulting the girl about the community's needs. He realized that true impact came from listening and collaboration rather than imposing his own vision. The girl's insight became invaluable, guiding him toward solutions that were practical, sustainable, and respectful of local traditions. The town slowly began to notice positive changes. People felt safer, healthier, and more supported. They spoke of the quiet stranger who had helped without seeking recognition, and the girl who had guided him with wisdom and care. Together, their presence had created a ripple effect of kindness and resilience, reinforcing the importance of community and compassion. Through all these efforts, their relationship continued to flourish. Love manifested in patience, shared responsibility, and the quiet joy of supporting one another. They celebrated small victories, a repaired home, a child learning to read, a family receiving medical care. These successes, though modest in the grand scheme, were profound in their impact, and each strengthened the connection between them, even as their lives became more stable. The man remained vigilant about lingering dangers from his past. He quietly monitored potential threats, ensuring that they would never reach the girl or the town. His vigilance was balanced by the trust he had developed in the community and the confidence he had gained in his own capacity to act without fear. The girl, aware of his cautious nature, respected his prudence while continuing to focus on her own contributions. Over time, their partnership evolved into a life shared fully, marked by empathy, courage, and purpose. They faced challenges together, from natural hardships to unforeseen crises, always relying on communication, understanding, and mutual support. The man had learned that leadership and protection were most effective when combined with humility and care. The girl had learned that collaboration and trust could amplify her impact beyond what she had imagined. Their days were filled with ordinary yet meaningful activities, helping neighbors, tending small gardens, attending town events, and supporting families in need. These acts, though simple, were profound in shaping a life of purpose, community, and mutual care. The man had discovered that wealth was secondary to human connection, and the girl had found a partner who valued her courage, wisdom, and compassion. One evening, as the sun set over the town, they stood together on a hill, reflecting on how far they had come. The journey from fear and danger to trust and love had not been easy, but it had been transformative. They understood that life's greatest treasures were not possessions or status, but the ability to act with empathy, to support one another, and to build something meaningful together. They spoke quietly about the future, imagining ways to continue improving their town, supporting families, and nurturing the community. Each idea was grounded in practicality, care, and respect for the people around them. They realized that their love and partnership were inseparable from their commitment to the community, and that true fulfillment came from balancing personal happiness with service to others. As night fell and stars appeared, they walked through the quiet streets hand in hand, feeling the satisfaction of a life built on trust, courage, and shared purpose. The man reflected on the lessons he had learned. Vulnerability can be strength. Kindness can transform lives, and love is most powerful when grounded in respect and understanding. The girl realized that partnership and trust could create a profound impact, far beyond what she had imagined when she first encountered the stranger who had entered her life. Together, they continued their journey, aware that challenges would arise, but confident in their ability to face them. Their story became an example of courage, love, and transformation, showing that even the most unlikely circumstances could lead to profound connection and lasting change. And in each other, they had found not only love, but the strength and wisdom to face the future with hope, purpose, and unwavering commitment.